Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we successfully insert some of the data with our postman and a student inserted successful, and also we get a specific one of the ID data, right? So that is for the edit and a specific 2 ID data we get it. So now I want to also update this part. That means a specific these 2 ID data I want to update. Okay, so now let's do that work. For doing this, first of all we have to create one of the method. So I simply copy it, and then I want to first of all that is our route, and that will be one of the post method, because I want to from here I want to update it, right? So that will be one of the post method, and also I name one of the URL as a class update. Okay, class update, and here we have to update it with a specific one of the ID. That means our requested ID. So right now our requested ID is a 2, right? So that will be our requested ID. And then in our class controller, that is a S class controller, here I want to create one of the method as an update, Perfect. So now we have to create this method in our this controller as a S class controller. Now go to our S class controller. Here after this I want to create another method that will be as a public and then function. So that is a public function, and our method name will be as a update, which is totally fine. And also I want to make it as an AND method. So that is our AND method. So here friend, that is also one of the post method. So when it will be as a post method, here we also have to pass as a request and the $request, and they have also one of the ID, right? Now I want to pass 3 things. One is the request, and then the $request. So that is a $request, and also here we have to pass one of the ID. So here that is our requested ID. So here also, if you want to add some of the validation, you can add that validation. Before I have already added some of the validation, but I didn't check it. If you also want to check it, like I make it as a required, and also that will be as unique, right? So if you go to our postman, I also want to check it, like here there is a restore method, like class 4 I have already inserted, right? If you go to our database table, they have already one of the name as a class 4. So now I want to check this validation. In our validation, I have already made these things, that is our class name will be as a unique for our this database table. So in our this database they have already one of the class 4. So now like here I want to insert it again as a class 4. Now click as a send. I want to check that our validation, yes, you can see it's perfectly get that validation as this given data was invalid because of all the class name is already been taken. That means our validation is also successfully worked, right? And also here I make it as a required. That means this field will be as a required. So if you want to like as a just make it as a empty. Okay, so now I make it as an empty field. Now click as a send it again. Yes, you can see it's also show our another validation message as a invalid, and also that is a class name. So this class name field is required. That means our validation is perfect. Okay, so you can also add that validation in here. Right now it's totally fine. I want to update this data. So if you want to update it, what exactly you have to do? We have to first of all find out that a specific ID data. So if you want to do that work right now with our this model, we have to access our database table. So now I want to do here I want to take it. So with this model, okay, with this model, first of all I want to find or fail. That will be as a find or fail. So with this find or fail, we have to get our this requested ID data. Okay, so now I simply take it, and then I want to update. Then I want to update, so that will be the default one of the function as the update. So now with this update here, I want to pass it. I want to pass our field name. That will be same. Okay, that will be the same field. I copy it, and after that I want to pass it. So that means our class name into the class name area, whatever our requested name will be passed. The requested name means that is actually our requested field name. Okay, so here that is our requested field name. So now I want to do that will be updated. So that's all. And after that, if you want to show some of the response message, you can display it. That will be as a return and then response. Return response. I want to display one of the messages as student class updated successful. So that will be I should display this type of one of the message. Perfect. So friend, that's all for our update portion. How much easy it is, you can see. So now let's check this out. If you now click as a save all, I click as a save all, and now I want to do better in here I want to check it. If you go to our API, or now our URL will be as a class update, and then they have the ID. So that is one of the post method, right? That is one of the post method, which is totally fine. And after that class, so there is a class and then update. Which data I want to update? I have already get the 2ID data. So 2ID data I want to update as a 2. So after that update, here I want to pass that ID. Okay, because of our URL, you can see there is a class update and then the ID, that is a requested ID I want to update. So I want to update that's our this field name. Here also I have already added that except as application JSON, content type as application JSON. So now in our body or field name as a class name. So here I want to update this value. I name it as a class. Okay, class. For this, there is actually before there is a class 2. I want to update as a class 2 new. Okay, class 2 new. So now if you want to check it, click as a send. Yes, you can see it's now showing as a student class updated successful. Okay, so now that is actually our message. Here I actually display on the message as a return response as a student class updated successful. So now that is successfully updated. Now if you also want to check it, a specific this ID that I have before I get it, there is a class 2. Now click as a send it again. Yes, you can see it's now updated that name as a class 2 new. Okay, and also if you go to our get all data, so there is our get all data. If you click as a send for the class 2, you can see it's now successfully updated as a class 2 new. And now also if you go to our database, now click as a browse. Yes, it's successfully updated. I hope, friend, it's very much clear to you. Okay, great. So now our next part is delete. So here also if you want to delete it, you have to delete it with a specific one of the ID. Now go to our API. So friend, if you understand this part, then rest of this will be actually just like that same. Better I want to copy it, and here I paste it. So for the delete, that will be one of the get method, and I name it as a class delete. That will be our URL, and delete will be our requested ID. And in our controller, I want to create another method as a delete. Okay, delete. So now let's create this delete method. I copy it. Now go to our controller, and after this I name it as a public, and then function, and then our method name. So that is our method. Okay, so into this method also here they have one of the ID. So now we have to pass this ID. So I want to do I just simply added that ID. Okay, that is a requested ID. And rest of this procedure will be just like the same. Our model name, I take that model name, I want to finish it. That is our AND method. So with this model, first of all, we have to find or fail our requested ID. So that is our requested ID. And when it will be get that a specific requested ID, I want to delete it. Before I update it, now I delete it. Okay, so when it will be delete, it will be return on the response message. Return response message will be as a student. Okay, student class, and deleted successfully. So this type of the message it will be display. I hope, friend, it's very clear. Okay, first of all, it will be get that specific ID data, and then it will be deleted, and it will be return response with this message. So now let's check this out. Click as a save all. So now our URL will be as a class delete. So better I want to take another one. Here. Better I copy it. Okay, you can also do that things in here. Better I copy it, and now for the delete. So that is our URL. Our URL will be as a delete and then the ID. Okay, so now I want to use it as a delete, and I want to delete that as a 2ID data. Okay, so this 2ID data I want to delete it before they have the 4 data. I want to delete this 2ID data. So that is our class and then the delete. So that is our URL, and also they have one of the ID, right? So there is a class delete and then the requested ID. So now that will be one of the get method. So now if you click as a send, okay, I want to click as a send. Yes, you can see it's showing as a student class deleted successfully. Okay, that means right now it's totally gone. If you want to check it, if you go to our get method right now all, so these two will be not visible obviously. Now click as a send. So now that is ID 1, you can see ID 2 is gone. So there is ID 3 and the ID 4. Perfect. So if you also want to check it in our database, now this 2 ID I have already deleted. Now click as a browse. Yes, you can see it's now successfully gone from to this position. I hope, friend, it's very much clear to you. Okay. So friend, if you understand that part, rest of this will be very easy. So that is actually main basic core functionality. So here we successfully completed, we get all that our data, we store all that data, and we edit a specific OneDraw data, we updated a specific OneDraw data, and also we delete this data. Okay. So that's all. So better I put on the note. So that is for our class, student class route. Okay, routes. So next video I want to create another code application for the student subject. So that will be very easy. I hope you enjoyed very much. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.